Okay, hello everyone. So it's the end of day 2 at AGS Conclave, and it was another really interesting day. Lived up to the first day that we spoke about earlier, I attended a few interesting sessions today. There were a lot of sessions that I didn't attend as well because you got options. And initially, when I came, initially on the first day, I kind of focused on the diamond industry related sessions and discussions. Today, I kind of felt that I need to move a bit out of my comfort zone, and that this is an opportunity to learn a bit more about the retail side of the industry. And there was one particular topic that came up as a strong theme on day 2, actually throughout the conclave, and that is this idea of marketing to women as the as female self purchases being a strong growth area for the industry. And to be honest with you, I was always, this has been a theme for the last 2 years or so in the industry, and with De Beers putting marketing dollars into it and various other brands, and saying that it's the growth area of the market. And I was always felt, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Women are the ones who are wearing diamonds and wearing jewelry, so surely they're the ones that are buying, buying jewelry, and it would make sense for marketers to target women in their advertising and marketing campaigns. So I had a few aha moments, as they say, today, because my skepticism found a bit of context. On the first session that I attended that touched on this topic, among others, was the Diamond Producers Association, who have recently launched their For Me, From Me campaign. And actually, by chance, I was in my hotel room last night, and I had the TV on, and the DPA advert came on in between. It was an ad break, and it was about a 20-minute slot of this familiar image that I had seen before, but I'd seen it in a sort of corporate context, through a press release or through a conference such as this one, where they would show the clip. And I had a bit of skepticism about that campaign before, but seeing it on TV in the US, where I'm not based, so I haven't had a chance to see it on mainstream TV in the United States until this visit, gave me a bit more confidence about the DPA campaign, and I thought it looked good, in a TV ad. So the DPA kind of went into some of the research that they had put into the topic, saying that who are the women that are buying jewelry, buying diamond jewelry. They said it's 1/3 millennials, 1/3 married women who are buying for themselves, and 41% of older women who are sort of affluent and more established are buying diamond jewelry for themselves. So that was interesting, but I still had this unease about so what. It's again a no-brainer of why we should do this. Until I went to the next session, which was given by Kelly McDonald, who seems to be this kind of marketing. She's a marketing expert of some sort. I don't know her full background, but she certainly had a very interactive and lively session that was titled "How to Win the Hearts and Reach the Wallets of Today's Modern Woman," and I thought that would be an interesting session to go to. It sounded like a bit of a self-help a dating course for single men. So I was a bit of a taker. I always wanted to know how to win the hearts of a modern woman. But this was about selling to women. And jokes aside, she she brought a number of very interesting points that eased my concerns about these campaigns. The first point that she made that stood out to me was that not so long ago, it wasn't such a no-brainer that women would be that women's self-purchases would be such a strong segment of the market. In fact, not so long ago, it was kind of taboo for a woman to buy jewelry for herself, because it was the role of the man to buy her jewelry as a gift. And so, say in the 60s, she brought the example, and probably carried on a bit later than that even. I would imagine even in the 80s, that if a woman bought a piece of diamond jewelry for herself, her friends would sort of have the question, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your husband? Or what's wrong with, do you not have a man to buy jewelry for you? So it was kind of this judgmental taboo about the idea. That's certainly not the case anymore, because as Kelly MacDonald said in her session, women are a vital part of the U.S. economy today. She said that women spend over $5 trillion a year on as consumers. An important point that she made was that women don't just buy; they influence their community, and for a business that's important, because if you've got a loyal female customer, she'll become an ambassador for your business, and so it started to realize that the interaction between a retailer and the female customer is very different to the interaction between that retailer and the male customer. So that's where she started, and she moved on to espousing 5 key values that women bring to the consumer space. And that businesses should be aware of when selling to women. And so what are those key values? The first is, and I don't think it's in any particular order, but she mentioned that women they nurture relationships. So spending time with their family and friends is a very important thing for them. The second value that she brought was that they're sharers. Women share their lives and experiences with other women, which men don't do as strongly. Women like to do things better and simpler, and they have very busy lives and very complicated and demanding lives. And so anything that makes their lives simpler and more convenient is a good thing. The fourth value is that raising healthy and happy families is very important to them. It's a priority for most women. And finally, that women support women. And that was quite a. I mean, all of these are things that we know about, but it's good to acknowledge them, and through that acknowledgement, plan how we approach our relationship to as service providers or sellers, marketers to our customers. It's sometimes important to state the obvious and recognize this, and then plan how we operate our businesses accordingly. And so that was the whole point. But for me, it was quite enlightening, and started to realize with all these lofty sort of campaign slogans and amid all the lofty campaign slogans about targeting women and empowering women's self-purchases and tapping into that market, there's a very practical element to it, which I thought was very useful for a jewelry retailer, especially. So she went into a few elements about, and it was very broad and very interactive. A lot of the ideas came from the audience, and she sort of drew it out of the audience, drawing on their experiences. And so one of the themes that she drew upon was using social media to market to women, and which was quite interesting. She certain social media platforms are more popular amongst men than women, and the other way around is true as well. I've heard other psychologists talk about how YouTube is kind of a male-centric platform. But Kelly MacDonald, who ran the session, spoke about Facebook being, that women are more active on Facebook than men, especially mothers. Twitter's, I shouldn't go too much into Twitter, but the other two platforms that are vitally important and kind of female-centric were Instagram and Pinterest, where Instagram and Pinterest, someone's vacuuming the floor behind me, but I'm not starting this over again. So I'll be quick. Instagram and Pinterest are very female-centric. She mentioned a statistic that 80% of users on Pinterest are women, and users spend at least an hour, over an hour, with each visit on Pinterest, which was astonishing. And she said it's astonishing. But the point is that these platforms are kind of tailor-made for the industry, for the jewelry industry, putting beautiful pictures of product on these platforms, and especially as the shopping element of these platforms evolves, with Instagram checkout getting a bit of news this week, in the last week or two. It's only going to become more important for retailers and the jewelry industry as a whole to tap into that trend. So yeah, she spoke a lot about how women interact with these platforms, and how we should be thinking about them. The other interesting point that she made about women is that they're more that corporate social responsibility seems to be to be important to women. She didn't say it's more important than men, but she said that I think it was a 90% of women valued the contribution that a company or a product makes to its communities and to the environment. And so I asked her a question, actually, saying that this is a characteristic that we've been hearing a lot about millennials, that millennials are that this is important to millennials in general. So is it women millennials who are actually the true drivers of this trend? And so she didn't know, because she didn't have the full statistics, but I would agree with her in suspecting that is the case. And so it's that adds another sort of layer to how we market to women, and engage in this in the conversation, in our generally our public relations activities. And so it was very, very interesting for me because it brought like a kind of a practical element to these campaigns. And I think it's important, as a journalist, when we're covering these ideas, and certainly for businesses that are taking these trends and putting them into practical use, in selling their product. It's important to understand that it's not just this lofty idea, that female self purchases are the number one growth area of the industry. It's how do we take that idea and put it into practical use. So it was really great. It was quite enlightening for me, and so that was day 2. Tomorrow is the final day. You'll probably watch these videos after the conclave, but Wednesday is the final day. Excuse me. I'm going to be speaking on Wednesday afternoon. If we happen to publish this beforehand, and you're watching, I would love for you, and you're at conclave, I would love for you to attend my speech. I'm going to be talking about the mega forces that are shaping the diamond and jewelry industry. And I hope it's a lively discussion, as all the sessions have been that I've attended so far. So I'll speak to you soon. Have a great rest of the week.